Oh, yeah, you know it. Gridiron Stud Show. Told you guys I'd be back in 2024, and I'm here. Second episode of the year 2024. So took an exit, and we focused more on the Two Chums football podcast that I do with Amo Calamino, but I'm back. Gridiron Stud Show. And we're here to talk college football with you over the next 30 minutes of show. Another short show coming up on the show. We've got a commitment from a South Florida area quarterback to the University of Texas. Man, the tentacles of Texas are reaching far and wide. Steve Sarkisian and the boys are getting around the country, and they're up in their game. They got to do that. You are now in the SEC. Things are about to get real. That conference is mega tough, and Texas understands that. I had a story on Texas last week, the Lamborghini story. So, yeah, they're pulling out all the stops there in Texas. They come down into South Florida and get a recruit. We'll talk about that. Over-unders for the state of Florida teams. By that, I mean the big three. Sorry, UCF, USF, FIU. Not talking about you guys today. FAU, not talking about you guys today. Talking about the big three, which is still Florida, Florida State, and the University of Miami, as much as UCF fan base, who's gotten rather annoying, I'm not going to lie to you, over the years, thinks they should be included in that. You're not included in that. You guys win a national championship or two, a legit national championship, not the one you guys claimed in 2017. Anyway, going to talk about the over and unders for those teams, Florida State, Florida, and Miami. Just a quick preview on that. I don't have any finals. I'm going to give you my thoughts on those over-unders, but nothing for me in terms of a prediction is set in stone until Ayla and I do it on the Two Chums Football Podcast later on in this summer. Geez, that time is fast approaching. As I was saying that, I felt like that was 3-4 months away, but no, the football season is 3-4 months away. So things are moving very, very fast. Also in news, team got some rings. I got a problem with some of the rings. Not some of the rings. I got a problem with the rings that a certain team got. We're going to discuss that in the show. And finally, I'll end this with some recruiting advice. I get this question quite often. I thought I would address it here. I think it would be good for a lot of guys out there who are trying to get the harder to get college football scholarship offers this year. So a little bit of recruiting advice on the way out. All right. So far as the commitment from a South Florida area quarterback, American Heritage's Diabell announced today that he is committing to the University of Texas. You kind of got the feel that was going to happen. You could just watch the social media account. Sometimes you are, paying attention to a kid's Twitter account. You don't really get a good read. They can, throw you for a loop. But in this, I could just kind of see that Diabell was moving in that direction. Diabell is the son of Roger Bell, who played several years in the NBA, most notably for the Phoenix Suns. He's a South Florida guy, went to FIU. Know the family, by the way. His father was part of the University of Miami's administration during my time there. Yeah, so I'm happy for the family, happy for Diabell. And my God, do they have weapons down there at American Heritage? I mean, basically, a big part of that 4x1 team are wide receivers. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, but that 4x100 team, these guys ran sub 40 in the 4x1. Anyway, like, anyone know what's going on in track nowadays? What's up with these high school kids running like college times? They're running pro times. What is going on in high school track? You've got a kid named Quincy Wilson, not my Quincy Wilson, but a Quincy Wilson in high school about to run a 44 in the 400. These things aren't even anomalies anymore. It's like every year we're getting something like that. Kid running sub 10 in the 100. And this year, as amazing as what American Heritage did with their 4x1 running a sub 40, they had 3 teams do that this year in high school. 3. In Duncanville, I believe it was, out in Texas, ran 38. My God, those are college times. Those are great. Those are winning college 4x100 times. I'm talking like NCAA winning 4x100 times. Anyway, Diabell is going to have his assortment of players to throw to. And one guy, the best wide receiver in that squad that he's throwing to, is not even a track guy, a guy by the name of Malachi Tony, who is as accomplished a wide receiver as there is in the country right now, a route runner, great hands, and he's got, dare say it, he's got that dog in him, all right? Guy that's being pursued by a number of schools, including the local school, the U, making a push trying to get that guy there. So you Texas fans out there that might be watching this, you will be pleased with what you see out of Diabell this year, both because of the talent, the experience that he now has, started as a senior and as a sophomore last year, had a great year, and he's coming back, and so are all of his weapons. So Texas fans, if you're wondering, because, we don't always down here in South Florida put out the best quarterbacks in the country. We're the best at a lot of things. We just don't crank out quarterbacks like that down here. You will definitely be pleased with this one. So happy to announce that, of course, but usually with quarterbacks, let me not say this. I was going to say you got to take, commitments with a grain of salt, but we're getting into the summertime. Typically with quarterbacks, they don't go bouncing around. That's for all of the other positions. So you Texas fans should be happy about that, but we got some time here. Kid's going into his junior season, so there's a little bit of time on that one. So you got to hold on to that one for a while. And like I said, there should get a lot of fireworks from him and American Heritage this season. So enjoy that. And for you fan bases out there from rival schools that wanted your crack at Diabell, pay attention also, because like I said, it's a long time to hold on to a recruit. Hey, Les Miles is in the news. You remember Les Miles, right? He's not that far removed. I know things move fast in college football, but Les Miles, former LSU head coach, winner of a national title at LSU, as all of these coaches from LSU tend to do. Nick Saban, Les Miles, Ed Ogeron. I feel pretty good that Brian Kelly has a good chance of doing that there. But Les Miles won a national championship. Oh, but he had to vacate some wins. First of all, let me get into this. I've never understood the whole vacating of wins. Okay, there were some violations. You found a team with violations, and you've got to, go about punishing them. We're going to take your Heisman Trophy. We're going to pretend like you didn't rush for all those yards or throw for all those yards, or you weren't really great like that out on the field, or we're just going to pretend like you didn't win those games. You got to vacate those victories. Never quite understood that. Nevertheless, that is the MO. That's the thing that they do in the NCAA. And the NCAA forced LSU to vacate a number of wins. And as such, oddly enough, the vacating of the wins from LSU under the time they were head coached by said Les Miles has now made him ineligible for the College Football Hall of Fame. According to the College Football Hall of Fame, you need to have a minimum winning record overall for your career of 60%, and the vacating of those wins during Les Miles' time at LSU has put him under that very significant mark. Now, Les Miles also coached at Kansas and Oklahoma State, and it's my understanding that none of those three schools, Kansas, Oklahoma State, or LSU, nominated him for the College Football Hall of Fame. I'm going to ask you guys out there, do you, vacated wins or not, do you feel like Les Miles should be in the College Football Hall of Fame? I'll even ask you guys, he does have a national title. You guys could go, people out there can go on and on. If you're an Alabama fan and you are by birth supposed to hate all things LSU, despite that, LSU won a national. Okay, so whatever the hell happened there, I am pretty sure Les Miles didn't do anything at LSU that wasn't also done at Alabama, wasn't also done at Auburn, wasn't also done at Georgia or Ohio State or Michigan. This is college football. Let's stop playing with ourselves here. Let's stop kidding ourselves. All these top schools are doing the same thing. All right. We're sitting here thinking, oh, well, LSU is the only one that committed that violation, that specific violation. Get out of here. Somehow they just got caught, or the NCAA felt like at that time they should lean on that school. No one here thinks anything having to do with sanctions or punishment or investigation in the NCAA is any way, shape, or form above board. It is not. We know that. Let's stop playing with ourselves. So, who would we put in the College Football Hall of Fame first? Or if we could just pick one of these two guys, who would we put in the College Hall of Fame first? I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. Would it be Les Miles or would it be Mike Leach? Now, we all know Mike Leach didn't win a national title. Won a lot of games at some schools that probably shouldn't have won a lot of games. But there was also this feeling, too, that Mike Leach wasn't never going to win a national title. It was just going to be too offensive to get over the hump and beat, a series of really great teams to get there. But if you wanted to bring a guy on to a program that was not expecting national titles and entertain the fan base and fill a stadium on a Saturday and be entertained, win, lose, or draw, Mike Leach was your guy. He was definitely your guy. I mean, took Washington State places where they had no business going. Definitely entertaining at Mississippi State. And oh, by the way, speaking of entertaining, the guy gave the best interviews ever in college football history. I'm going to go down and say. So which guy would you put in the College Football Hall of Fame? Mike Leach, Les Miles, feel free to answer in the comment section. Nevertheless, Les Miles has decided he's going to sue LSU, which I don't understand. I don't even know how this suit sees the light of day, because as the way I understand it, LSU was forced. They were compelled to vacate those wins by the NCAA. It was an NCAA mandate, so to speak. I don't know what kind of options they had, so why he's suing them, I have no idea. Go sue the NCAA. Why not? Everyone else is. Go do that. So I'm not really getting what the deal is there, but whatever the case may be, Les Miles suing his old school. Yes, there won't be a reunion of that college football national championship team. If so, don't expect to see Les Miles there. Or you know what? Given Les Miles and the way he operates, little kooky, he might just show up. Lawsuit intact and everything. But anyway, that is the case right there. Florida State. Now, you see this hat that I have on. You guys know my history. You know I played at the University of Miami. So by design, I am to have no love for the guys in Tallahassee. Having said that, I have respect for what they were able to do. I have respect for Mike Norvell and what he's been able to do with that program. That thing was dead in the water. Probably by this new era standards should have been fired. And probably would have been fired if Florida State hadn't been through the whole Willie Taggart lethal simplicity era. If they had not just gone through that, they probably would have gotten rid of Mike Norvell because it just wouldn't have stung as much. But having gone through the whole lethal simplicity era, they couldn't turn around and just fire another guy like that. And so, with the little bit of patience that was forced upon Florida State, they stuck with Mike Norvell. And they were duly rewarded last season with an undefeated regular season, 13-0. But something very, very unfortunate happened, and they lost their quarterback. Jordan Travis went down with an unfortunate injury in the final regular season game. And that totally messed up Florida State's postseason chances. So much so that they did not get voted in. We all remember the, whole scenario that went down, the back and forth, and all the debates over whether or not Florida State should be in the college football playoff, even though their quarterback is on the shelf. We all remember the debates, heavily debated. And so they were not included, and who's to say rightfully so? It was really 50-50. Quite frankly, at the end of the day, college football is a major business, as we have been forced to learn, especially over the last few years. It is a business, and they need to make money. And quite frankly, putting Florida State in the college football playoff without their key player and their quarterback just didn't make business sense. And so it didn't happen through the vote or whatever you want to call it. And so they did manage to win the ACC championship game, a game, I don't know that their opponent in that contest was going to beat them regardless. And obviously they did not, as Florida State rolled out their backup quarterback there and was able to win the game. No shot there. That sent them to a bowl game against a very bitter Georgia team, and they got hammered. Now, you had guys that opted out of the game for Florida State, and this is a common thing that you will see across college football. This is just a part of the new college football. Guys have got to protect their interests at the next level. You can feel how you want to feel about it. Not going to change anything. And all your yelling and hem and hawing and everything else that you want to say about it, all the tweets you want to crank out, all of the comments you want to make on Instagram and any other social media platform, it's not going to change the fact that, hey, this is an opportunity for a lot of these players to change their family dynamic, generational wealth, all those things. And so, for all of you out there that criticize these guys when they make these decisions, you've got to ask yourself, what decision would you make in that same situation? Some of you think you will make one decision, but when you're actually sitting in that seat having to make it, no, you find out you might make a different one. Anyway, that's not the issue at hand. They played Georgia, and they were crumbled, as you would expect. 63-3 was the final. So the final record was 13-1. There's no getting around that. What happened happened. Okay, the unfortunate thing happened with Jordan Travis. You guys were kept out of the college football playoff. You went into your Orange Bowl game shorthanded, and you lost. You got beat down. It happens to every program at some point. But the point here is your final record was 13-1. With that said, Florida State, you can't go out and make rings that you're going to hand out to your football players and have it say 13-0. No, Florida State, you can't do that. You can't just go and delete history like that. It happened. Same way I'm saying that the NCAA is stupid for the whole vacated wins thing and taking a guy's Heisman Trophy like he didn't just run all over the field and just rip and destroy everybody. Same way that I'm saying that, it's the same way I'm telling you Florida State can't just go up and print up rings with a false record on it. It's almost like the same thing that UCF tried to do 2007. No, man, you did not win the national championship. Stop acting like you do. There's been other teams in the past that have tried to say they won a national championship when it's not recognized by anyone. Well, Florida State, you can't go and print up rings, and they're going to be a laughingstock. Guys are going to get clowned for that. You were 13-1. Be proud of that 13-1. Everyone knows what happens. Everyone knows what happened there. Like I said, there was a 50-50 split of debate, and by and large, everyone had some sympathy for what happened with Florida State. Even some of their most bitter rivals had sympathy for Florida State and the fact that you had a really, really great season. You had a chance to go in the college football playoff and make some noise and potentially win it. You lost your quarterback at the very last game of the season. Everyone understands that. Go put the 13-1 on there. People will understand why you lost the game 63-3 to Georgia. They'll get it. You were without your quarterback. Several players in Georgia was grade A pissed. And did manage to somehow have more of their guys participate in that game than your guys. But anyway, Florida State kind of new to the whole national championship thing. And so I get it. Maybe some years down the road, if they continue to be a part of the, top tier national title picture, the perennial top 5 team going forward, maybe you don't have a situation where that many guys opt out. Who knows? We will see how that shakes out. But you can't print 13-0 on your rings. This will not be forgotten. And as guys break those out, you are going to be sorely reminded at every turn that you did lose the bowl game. 63-3 to Georgia. So Florida State, send those rings back. Get them printed up 13-1. No, just joking here. I mean, Florida State is free to do what they want. I'm just saying, not the greatest look. Probably don't want to do that. I'm sure the guys will wear the ring with pride. They were the ACC champions, and I'm sure folks will be in a hurry to jump in the comments and let me know that my school is yet to win an ACC championship. In due time, folks, it's coming. It's coming. And with that, I'm going to slide on now to the over and unders for the big three in the state of Florida this year. Florida State, Miami, and Florida. Let's just start off with Florida State since we're already on them. The over and under for Florida State is 9.5. This is for a team that went 13-0 last year and, could have 13-0 in their regular season. All right. Look at me cutting out that bowl loss. 13-1 they went. But again, Jordan Travis is healthy. I like them to win at least that first round playoff game. So this is a team that could have won 14, perhaps 15 games last year. And their over-under total comes in kind of low for me at 9.5. I'm saying that also because the schedule is not that killer to me. It's not how I'm seeing this for Florida State. So that combined with the fact that you've got a good squad, you are replacing a talent at quarterback in Jordan Travis with DJ Ugalele. He of Clemson and Oregon State and now in his third program. And some of the reports out there are kind of 50-50 on whether he's doing well or not. I think when the lights come on and this guy's playing ball, he's going to play to a pretty good standard there. Right? So they're not going to be hurting at quarterback. And he may very well surprise some folks there. But when I'm looking at them, the first four games, Georgia Tech, Boston College, Memphis, they're at home against California. It looks like a 4-0 to me. Our next four is SMU, Clemson, Florida State, and then Miami. I think Florida State, all right, and I don't normally do the whole, when I do my prediction show with Emil Calomino on Two Chums Football Podcast, which we will be having a show later on this week, so stay tuned on this channel for that. When I do that, I don't get into the game by game because I know things change, and the next game performance has a lot to do with what happened the week before or what's lying ahead and what some people think a certain team is going to be on the schedule and they end up not being that. So I don't really go game by game. But in this scenario, I could totally see a situation where Florida State 7-0 heading down to South Florida to play Miami. And that first loss of the season is Miami. Totally see that scenario. That game is going to be a complete and absolute war. I am looking forward to it. I'm a 90s baby. I played at the University of Miami in the 90s. And at that time, it was Florida State, Florida, and Miami dominating the rankings each and every year. Looking forward to getting back to that, although Florida seems awfully far away from being able to be included in that scenario as we sit here. More on Florida in just a minute as we discuss their over-under total and what's possible for them this season. But I could see that Miami being the first loss for Florida State. Then they've got North Carolina, a bounce-back game. So they're 8-1, and then you got to go to Notre Dame, totally worn out from a 3-week schedule, which was at Duke, who's going to be a tough game, even with a new head coach. Then your rival game against Miami, and then North Carolina. After a 3-week stretch of that, you've got to go travel to South Bend. Good luck. Don't like Florida State in that scenario. They end with Charleston Southern and Florida. I think they win those games. So in my eyes, I see a 10-2 season for Florida State, and they're over on the total at Bovada online sports book is 9.5. So I'm thinking over for Florida State at 10-2. Let's slide over to our good friends in Gainesville, the Florida Gators. Much has been said about their schedule. It is brutal. It's as brutal a schedule as I think I've ever seen for a top team in college football ever. Congratulations, Florida. You can say that. You have the toughest schedule anyone has ever seen in the last 3-4 decades, if you're into those kind of things. What you can't say is you're going to have a winning season at Florida. If you do, you better back up the Brinks truck, and you folks better delete all your tweets and take back everything you've said about Billy Napier. Florida has not had a winning record under Mr. Napier, and it's been, 3 years now? 3 years running, Florida has had a losing record. There's no reason for me or anyone else who's not high or drunk to believe Florida is going to have a winning record this season, given what they have been and what's laying ahead on the schedule for them. With that said, though, their total is 4.5. There are many folks out there that say, I see this team winning 2, maybe 3. Let's talk about it. They opened up against the University of Miami. That's a tough opener. What's good for you is that you're bringing back your quarterback, and you're not breaking in a new guy here. So that's a plus. But again, Florida has been so downtrodden and beaten, and I'm not sure talent-wise what they're working with there anymore. They get names. Are those guys developing? I'm not sure. I've not seen that over the last few years. You would think a guy's going to do one thing, and then they really just don't blossom there. In particular on defense. Miami's coming through. They're on the uptick, and they've got a dynamic quarterback, and that's just really been a missing piece there. So Miami's on the high here. It's a big game for Florida because it can really set up the rest of the year. If they manage somehow to beat Miami in that opener, then you can kind of get ready to stuff everything I just said about them having a winning season down my throat. They might be in position to do that. But do I think that's going to happen? No, I don't. I think they take an L against Miami in that opener. After that, though, of course, I could see them beating the brakes off of Samford. Then I think they could beat Texas A&M, who's breaking in a brand new coach. Nothing like being a brand new coach in a high-pressure situation, traveling in the SEC early on in your tenure, as Elko will be doing with Texas A&M. I could see Florida winning that 2-1. Now you're traveling to Mississippi State. It was shaky. You could win that. That's 3-1. Then you got UCF, who I'm going to tell you right now, Florida and Florida fans and Florida faithful and Florida Twitter and everyone else, do not lose that game to UCF. Please don't let that happen. If you're Florida, Florida State, or Miami, and you've got UCF on the schedule, you would do well to not lose to that team. And I think buoyed by that, Florida gets that win there. So now we've got a 4-1 Florida team. But this is where things get thick and they become a problem. Now you're going to Tennessee. Tennessee's going to be good, folks. Now I know Florida has found ways to beat Tennessee when they shouldn't have in years past, but that's been at home. I don't know about at Tennessee. Don't see them getting a dub in that situation. But here's where I see something happening. Yeah, Kentucky's kind of owned Florida in recent history, but you're getting these guys at home. And with what Florida has coming after Kentucky, I see them going, for lack of a better term, balls to the wall against Kentucky because you need that victory. And I see them getting it. So we're sitting here with a 5-2 Florida football team. That already puts us over the 4.5 prescribed win total by Bovada. We're already a winner on that. Thank God, because I don't see another W on that schedule after that. This is where things get completely ill. The next week is Georgia. And if your next game is Georgia when you're playing Kentucky, damn it, man, you better beat Kentucky. Don't be playing around with Kentucky at home. It's another reason why I think Florida is going to be going nuts in that game against Kentucky. You cannot lose the Kentucky. You cannot lose the Kentucky game. Anyway, lost to Georgia. Then you're traveling to Texas. No, not going to happen. You guys can get drunk and high and say crazy things if you want to. You're beat down after a week at Georgia and then Texas. Who did this to you guys? What did you guys do, Florida? Now you got LSU at home. LSU is just a solid program. You guys are going to be tired, beat down, looking sideways. An L. So now you've gone from 5-2 to now 5-5. That's in your head. Ole Miss comes to town. Tricky Lane Kiffin. Don't see you getting a win there either. Could you pull it out? You could. That is one way in which Florida could end up a 500 football team this year. And again, if that happens, Don't even think about firing Billy Napier. Pull your head out of your rear end. This is not the Urban Meyer era, and stop firing coaches Florida like you like to do every 2.7 years. Cut it out. Matter of fact, I think if Billy gets 4 or 5 wins, you need to get out of his face and let the guy coach. Anyway, if I'm picking this right now on June, what is it, 17th, I've got Ole Miss winning that. So now you're 5-6. You lose the Florida State game at the end of the year in Tallahassee. You're not winning that. 5-7. But here's the good thing. You're over that 4.5 total that sits there as your number here on June 17th. And that brings us to the University of Miami. University of Miami also has a 9.5, which is interesting considering the record last year versus what Florida State's record was last year. And that just goes to show how much people think about the University of Miami this year. I'm not one of these crazy over-the-board optimist guys. I try to be a realist when it comes to my school and my team. And I'm trying to urge folks, let's not go overboard with enthusiasm and predictions for the University of Miami. Calm down a little bit. You don't look, expectations can be a heavy weight to carry around. 9.5, probably a fair number, a little bit to the rich side. Let's talk about it. We talked about it opening up the year at Florida. I'm an impressive win there, and I can, be wrong on my overall thoughts here. But a win at Florida, you beat FAMU, you beat Ball State, you beat South Florida. That's a nice little chill out right there after the big opener against Florida. Then you get Virginia Tech at home. And again, I don't like to do the, game by game thing because things can get funny. Going out to Cal is going to be tough. After all these games down here in South Florida, you're finally leaving Florida, finally leaving the state of Florida, go all the way out to California. Things can get kind of funny. Wouldn't be surprised there. Louisville can be kind of tough after that. I'm on record as saying I think they beat Florida State. I think we beat Florida State in that game. I think we hand Florida State their first L. Right after giddiness of that Florida State when you got Duke, funny stuff happens. Speaking of funny stuff, you're playing Georgia Tech, but that's a revenge game. I would find it hard pressed for a loss to happen here. But just somehow, some way, as we continue to mature as a program, the University of Miami, and things move in the shape of things, success is rarely ever just like this. Gradually and continually, we have been doing the right things and moving in the right direction at the University of Miami. These things just go up. Sometimes there's a up, and then there's a dip, and there's a go up. I have kind of targeted 2025 as the year. And as such, something funny can happen in these last 4, 5, 6 games at the end of the year. So it would not surprise me to see us go 9-3, in which case we would be under the number. Can't sit here and tell you individually which game that's going to happen. That's very hard to do. Though I did it with the other 2 teams, it's difficult to do. Who could snipe us? Is it Duke? Is it Wake Forest? Is it Georgia Tech again? Is it Syracuse? I don't know. Just as we move, funny stuff happens, and then eventually you have that breakthrough. Like I said, I really like 2025 in terms of us really, really saying we're back to where we wanted to be. We're in the thick of things. 9-3 can still get you a berth in the college football playoff. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong on 1 or maybe 2 of these things, and we'll end up 10-2, 11-1. Don't shoot me. This is just what I think right now, June 17th. Haven't been down to really analyze all of this, but so if we're looking at this according to Bovada's numbers, I like Florida State and Florida to be over their numbers. University of Miami, if I had to go heads or tails on it, I go tails under the number. That's how I feel right now, June 17th. Don't shoot the messenger, but do leave your comments down there. How do you guys feel about that right there? What do you feel all of these teams are going to do, given the number? Florida State 9.5, Miami 9.5, Florida 4.5. I think Florida State and Florida are over their numbers slightly. Miami at or around, and you can't just be on 9.5. So if I got to go over or under right now, June 17th, I think it's 9-3. Something weird or funny happens there. It's just part of the process, as we say. Finally, I'm going to end the podcast with this. I get this question a lot. Look, there's millions of kids that play high school football each and every year. A lot of guys are looking for scholarships. And for some, you're really, really good ballers. You think you have what it takes to play at the next level. And, you probably do. Run the Gridiron Studs app. We get hundreds of submissions each and every month from guys on there. And between me and the scouts that work on Gridiron Studs, Deron Baugh, Tremaine Shepard, my two main scouts that I have here, we look at a lot of film. And there are guys out there that can really ball. And in some cases, a lot of cases, actually, you get guys that are undersized in terms of what the colleges want, especially your FBS schools, your Power 5 schools. You fall under what they have as guidelines. And yes, folks, they do have guidelines. All right. There's certain height and weights they want to see at certain positions. Okay. And before you go getting pissed at that kind of stuff, Harvard, Yale, and all of the other schools academically do the same thing. Do they not require a GPA and an SAT score? It's guidelines. It's what they have. And so football is allowed to have the same thing. Sports are allowed to have the same thing. Basketball has the same thing. They want their center can't be 6'3". All right. That's just not what it is. College sports is very competitive. Football is. We know that. And yeah, my guy, maybe he's a baller, but can he be a 6'2" defensive end? He can, but it's rare. That tackle you're going up against at that big time school in a championship game is going to be 6'6", 6'7", 6'8". It's a very big mismatch. Okay. So it's tough to be a 5'8" corner, tough to be a 6'2" defensive end, tough to be a 5'10" linebacker. It is what it is. But in terms of like weight, okay, we're talking about high school football players here. You definitely get times where a guy may be around the height. He just doesn't have the weight. You got a 150-pound wide receiver or whatever the case may be. And a lot of times I get the question, what can I do there? How can I put on the weight? That's a very simple formula. In terms of what to do, the hard part is just consistently do it. The first thing I'm going to tell guys in that situation is learn how to cook. All right. Learn how to cook. Sure. Mom, maybe even dad or aunt or whoever it is may want to cook meals for you, but the amount of meals you're probably going to need to intake for you to put on those pounds. If you're a 155-pound wide receiver or corner and you're trying to get yourself to 165 pounds for that next season, or you're 160 and you want to play at 170, you want to put 10 pounds on, this summer, get maybe 15 pounds by the time, you get through your season. Learn how to cook. All right. That's number one. Learn how to cook, learn how to make simple meals, learn how to make a chicken breast, chicken cutlet, and learn how to fix those things. All right. We know you can go make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but that's going to get mundane. You're not going to want to keep eating that, and you're going to start skipping times, and you need the protein. So just learn how to cook. We're living in the YouTube era. If you guys can't get on and log on to YouTube and learn how to cook basic things, well, then you're cheating yourself. It's too easy. It's too easy to learn how to do things. So get on there, learn how to cook, spend a little time on YouTube. It's not as hard as you think. Just learn how to cook. You can go in that kitchen, man, and pull stuff out of the refrigerator and make yourself a meal because you're going to need to eat more. It's just that simple. Now, some guys that are young just think, oh, if I work out more, I lift more weights, I'll just get bigger and gain weight. No, you're going to need to eat. You got to eat. And, if you're trying to gain weight like that, you're going to be eating most likely when you don't necessarily feel like eating. You're going to have to put yourself on the schedule. There's a certain amount of calories that need to be consumed. Gaining weight is math. It's the amount of calories that you gain versus what you're burning. And as a high school football player, you're burning serious calories, especially in the summertime doing workouts. You're burning a lot of calories. If you're not putting them back in there via the form of food and protein, well, you're just not going to gain weight. That's what's going to happen to you. So learn how to cook. That's number one. Number two is, I've already touched on it, protein. Get yourself some protein. Muscle milk or things of that nature. Another thing you could just look up. I'll recommend muscle milk to you guys, especially if you're a young guy. Consume the protein. Take the amount of shakes. I'm here to tell you that's what's going to happen to you if you happen to make it onto a college campus as a scholarship athlete anyway. You're going to get handed shakes left and right, and you're going to be forced to eat food as they want you to gain weight. But the whole idea is we're trying to get their attention in the first place, and you're in high school. So if you're even trying to get there, you might as well get started on that plan. Protein shakes. Get the protein in your meals. So eat the beef, eat the chicken, eat the fish, and the beans. That's another thing you can research. Not here to do that for you. Find out the sources of protein. Have those things on the plate in your meals, but also consume the protein shakes. And yes, they sometimes will make you feel full, and you might not feel like drinking it. Hey, do you feel like dragging that sled? Do you feel like doing all those reps in the weight room? No, you do it anyway because you know the end result is you being stronger and faster and ready to make more plays out on the field. Well, that's going to be the same thing with your diet. Here's another thing you might have to do that you don't feel like doing, but downing 2 of those shakes a day or whatever is recommended and required. You need protein for those muscles that you're breaking down each and every day at those workouts. So if you're trying to gain yourself 10 or 15 pounds, you got to consume the protein. The next thing is don't miss those workouts. It gets real easy in the summertime to wake up late, skip a workout, don't go, have a reason not to go. I've got an appointment here, there, family vacation, whatever. You're dedicated to this thing because you're trying to get a scholarship off. So if family's trying to load you up on all these getaways, hey, tell them you made a commitment. Now, I'm not telling you not to take a family vacation, but just don't be gone the whole summer and you're not getting in workouts. And God forbid, don't be home during the summer and you're blowing off workouts. If you're home, get to the workout, lift the weights. Don't stunt your progress by missing workouts. Don't do that to yourself. And the final thing I'll say is, man, track it. Okay? It's hard to improve on something that you're not tracking. So, weigh yourself. Don't be a guy like, I don't want to weigh myself. I don't want to see that number on the scale. No, see the number. Keep track of it. If you really want to do this, you keep track of your meals and have kind of an idea of the amount of calories that you're consuming. Now, if you want to get obsessive and weigh food and all that, you might get that deep into it. Told guys this, and I've seen that happen. They just got totally obsessive and they weighed the food and they knew how much calories they were taking in. They had a decent idea of how many calories they were burning, and they went full go. If you want to do that, listen, all the better for you. But at least track your meals, write down what it is you're eating, making sure you're on course, weigh yourself, and do all that. And keep track of the workouts that you're going to that you haven't missed. You're trying to improve on something. The first step is tracking it and keeping accurate record of what steps you're taking. So do that. And it's a very simple formula after that. The hard part, like I said, is doing it. The hard part is actually going and learning how to cook. The hard part is actually drinking those shakes, because there's going to be times when you don't feel like drinking it and you have to drink it anyway because you need to gain weight. And you don't need me to tell you that hitting all those workouts is difficult unless you're just an absolute lover of the weight room and running. Then yes, sometimes going to those workouts is going to be very difficult. You got to get up, you got to go, and you can't miss because you have a goal in mind. You want to gain 10, 15, 20 pounds. Got to do these things. And finally, track all of this. And that's it. That's a simple formula. Not difficult. This is not rocket science. It's not trigonometry. It's just you having to do it, being consistent enough in what it is that you do. And if you're consistent, you will find yourself there. And this is an answer to a question that I get from a lot of guys. If you struggle with gaining weight, I'd like to hear from you in the comment section. And maybe I could, send you in the right direction for your research. Don't take everything that I'm saying as gospel. You're going to have to do some research. The fortunate thing for you is you live in a time where doing research is really easy. Things like Google and YouTube are right there available to you guys. I didn't have those growing up. Looking up and getting this kind of information involved me getting dropped off to a library, looking on a computer where a book kind of might be, going into the third, fourth, fifth floor of a library, walking up and down the aisles to find that specific book that had that specific number. Yeah, there was a lot was involved. You guys have it a whole lot easier. So jump on that. All right, that's it for my time here. Hope you guys enjoyed the show and got something out of it. You were informed, entertained, etc., etc. If you were, go ahead and give this a like and a share. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel or to the podcast so that you're informed the next time I put out a podcast like this one. So, all right. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll be back next week or until the next show. Remember, the Two Chumps Football Podcast coming up later this week as England and I tackle both pro and college football. We talk about that stuff here. And I do believe an Indie Drills podcast is coming up for all of my DBs out there, defensive coaches, DB trainers, all those good folks. We've got a full podcast schedule coming up this week, so check me out for that. Yet another reason for you to subscribe to the channel. And one last thing, I didn't mention the Gridiron Studs app. I'm just assuming all you guys are on it, and if you're not, you need to be on it. If you are a high school football player looking to get offers, looking to up your game, looking to be seen, you absolutely must be on the Gridiron Studs app. Hit the link in the description down below, download it, and create a profile today. College football coaches are going through those profiles on a daily and weekly basis, looking for college football potential athletes. So you want to be seen, you want to get your stuff put out there. Download the Gridiron Studs app, hit the link in the description down below. All right, that's it. I'm out. See you guys next time. Gridiron Studs Show. Peace.